So, welcome everyone. I'm Alexander Mihalcha, and today we have one of the industry leaders, Vignesh, founder and director of Agile Cyber Solutions. Welcome, Vignesh. How are you doing today?
Thank you for having me here, and I'm doing great.
Awesome, and I'm very excited to have you on the podcast today, and I'm sure you're going to be of great value for the audience. Now, before we dive in, could you give us a quick overview of what Agile Cyber Solutions does?
Agile Cyber Solutions was founded in 2012. We've been developing solutions of various kinds for small and medium entrepreneurs, mostly to do with enterprise software, dashboards, small automations, mobile apps, and generally keeping them updated with technology. So we've been doing it from 2012. We have been a very small team. Now we have grown to about 70 people. We have clients all over the place, like in Canada, US, Australia, but focused on UK. Um, so that's what we are. But we are trying to become something different, where we are trying to become a product company, where instead of the SME relying on our expertise and developing a solution with us, we develop the product based on the industry needs, and then whoever has a need can take it up and use it. That's our current model.
Okay, that's really fascinating. But in the first place, what inspired you to create Agile Cyber Solutions? And when you saw that opportunity, what gap in the system did you realize no one else was solving?
First of all, when we started off, we were focused more on e-commerce. E-commerce was our go-to place. Developing an e-commerce portal back in 2012 with all the systems and marketing and all of that was very difficult. We were able to do it at a much smaller budget, quicker time frame, and that gave us a lot of initial success. So that was our initial focus. At that time, we had some good press coverage as well, so got a lot of clients from that, and it was going good. But very soon, Shopify took over the entire world.
Yeah.
Shopify became the go-to tool for SMEs, and many of our clients were also moving to that, and we're honestly asking us whether it is a good thing to keep developing e-commerce or just shift to Shopify. Now, as an SME, I would today recommend anyone use Shopify if you're starting off, because it is a no-brainer. Of course, as soon as you grow, you will have to change, but I think that's a good problem to have. So that's when we shifted our focus to enterprise development, and that's how we moved it. The gap was essentially that, given the traditional tools that are necessary to create an e-commerce store, it was very hard. And even when you create it, it will still not be 100% perfect for you. So as a developer backend, we could support you throughout to make sure the technology keeps supporting your business.
Okay, interesting things. But for example, what was your background before starting this venture?
Yes. I am an accountant by qualification. However, after the 2008 shakeout, I decided to change careers, and as a start to that, I wanted to do an MBA. So that's when I went to Cranfield, in Bedford. I did a full time MBA there to become an entrepreneur, a businessman. Switching from a job earlier, I was earlier working in commercial roles and then in technology as a business analyst. And after the MBA, when I looked out in the marketplace, I was inspired to do this as a business rather than go back to an employment. And that is
Yeah.
what inspired me. And so when I looked out in the technologies world and scanned the opportunities available, e-commerce was the most logical thing.
Makes sense. Makes sense now. But for example, if you are looking back, what would you wish you've done differently in those early days?
I think what we've been very conservative in our approach to SME markets. I think we should have marketed ourselves better. In terms of technology, I think we did everything right. I mean, okay, we would do things faster and improve things, and all of that is there. But in principle, what we did is right. We provided the right kind of solutions and all of that. The only thing is we were not aggressive enough to go out there and publish our work in the marketplace, be hot on LinkedIn and all of that.
Yeah.
We thought if you do good work, word of mouth and things like that will automatically work, but unfortunately it didn't. So the fixes that I would do to the business if I do it again will be mostly on the marketing side, and putting ourselves and our work in front of people to see and to realize the advantages that they can have.
Okay, and because you mentioned about the SMEs, but what inspired and led to focus on helping small and medium enterprises to adopt AI and technology?
I have always been working in smaller companies. Of course, I have also worked with large MNCs, a Canadian MNC called CGI, but that was a very brief period, and I did not really like the culture there. So essentially, SMEs, it is easier to convince the management about the value that we provide, and also they are the heart of any economy. So if we can make a influence, if you make a difference to say SMEs in a specific sector, then that will mean that the entire sector will be able to come out of non-technology, I mean not having technology
Yeah,
solutions. So it's kind of a social good in toward going towards mass adoption, making sure the entire world can benefit, and for a startup to approach, and my own personal experience being in SMEs helped me approach people faster, prove the value for money, return on investment, all of that.
I see the perspective. Okay, but for example, why do SMEs often struggle to adopt the same tools and techniques as the larger enterprises?
Multiple reasons. First of all, some of the subscriptions out there are extremely expensive. However, there are options available in the open source. There are options available in lower cost tools. There are options available where you may actually have the tool already. For example, you may already have Gmail for work, but
Yeah,
you may not realize that the Gemini email drafting tool is amazing. It can do 80% of what you would have done, but as we will probably say later, the care that is required to use AI and technology is different from doing it without AI or without technology. So, for example, if I am running an e-commerce shop, I should be adapting, looking at my phone notifications and be on top of that so that I don't miss any customer. Whereas if I'm working without technology, I'm probably used to people coming up to my shop and talking to me. So the sort of responses required, the sort of knowledge and the work required is different. And SMEs somehow wants a specific set of rules work for their business. If I'm, let's say, having a shop and if it's working for me and there are customers coming in, typically they're like, it's working, why should I change that? it,
yeah,
it it honestly is a good thing, but if you want to scale up and if you want to grow, then technology is your only option.
100%. Yeah, makes sense. And for example, what are like some of the easy accessible and affordable tools that SMEs can use to improve the productivity in the first place?
I will honestly like to kind of change the question a little bit, because it's not about the tools. The tools are the same for everybody. We just have to change the mindset towards using AI. For example, as I mentioned, Gemini. If I allow Gemini to draft all my emails, I would be embarrassed very soon because it would have told things that I don't want to say. So if I use it as an assistant which will draft my first reply, and then for me to start verifying if it has done a good job and modify it, polish it, shorten it, we lengthen it, whatever is necessary to make sure that the audience will appreciate, the audience will understand, and also remove the obvious AI signatures like the EM dashes and things like that. That's because it's also about, have you cared enough to look at the output that has come in so that the person who is receiving it doesn't feel like you have just used AI. That's really important. So if you say have the shift in the mindset, even ChatGPT is very useful. Claude is useful, and then there are amazing image tools, tools which can help you create, let's say, documents, graphics, a lot of stuff out there. So even within the Gemini, Claude, and OpenAI world, which is the kind of top three tools, you can do a lot of things like image generation, deep research, which is an extremely important tool that I use very often. So if I'm going to a client and I'm going to talk to them about their business, I would research their business as much as possible. and going out there and looking at 50 social media profiles and different websites and blogs, not going to be possible. So
Yeah.
if I give it specific goals and do a deep research of the clients, that really helps me a lot of times. It uncovers data that I didn't know. It brings up interesting topics that I can start the conversation with, and things like that. Even while, let's say, investing in a new technology, or recruiting a person or something like that, if you have 50 CVs to verify, rather than just randomly picking three or four and hoping that the best candidate will be among them, if you can set criteria and allow the AI to actually go through all the CVs, that would be an amazing use case as well.
Yeah, a lot of value.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's
wow.
understanding that I can do everything, but at the same time, I need to treat AI as an assistant, not as the master whom I will just obey.
Exactly. And this leads me to the next question, which is how can SMEs overcome the misconception that AI is just about like ChatGPT or the hallucinations?
Yeah, hallucinations are unavoidable, and it's in fact something that I would thank AI for, because if AI were to be a fixed, um, you know, something that will never tell you a lie or never tell you something that is made up,
Yeah.
then by now we would have lost 50% of the jobs in the world. Honestly, and one that the other aspect of it is the very fact that it is using human language and it is learning from human language and human language based tools, it is bound to hallucinate because it will
Yeah.
come up with a new solution every time. So being aware of it is step number one. And step number two is to avoid typical pitfalls. For example, if you are going to rely on it for a conversation of, let's say, 20 questions, if you see that by the third or fourth question it is giving you a wrong answer, I would recommend using a fresh chat.
Mhm.
Restart it. That
Yeah.
works for me all the time. Because if you continue that, it will go through the same line of thoughts and it will continue to, press you
The
down
same
the
loop.
rabbit hole. So rather than that, I even at times say, okay, look, you started hallucinating. Can you make a summary of this chat for me
Hmm.
so that I can start another chat? I
Hmm.
say that. So it gives me a good summary, and then I look through that. If there is anything that is hallucination, causing the hallucination within that, I remove that and then put it into a new chat, and then it becomes very good. So those are
Efficient.
kind of, it's more like techniques and mindset than the tool itself.
Yeah.
Every tool hallucinates. I can guarantee that. Yeah.
Okay. And walk us through how agile cyber solutions addresses these challenges. What makes your approach unique?
Our approach is unique because we have a deep understanding of business in the fields that we're in. Let's say, for example, banking and finance. We don't touch that because we don't have expertise in it. When it comes to manufacturing, when it comes to logistics, education, these are fields where we have done at least 50 projects. So we got a lot of experience. Since, as I mentioned earlier, we ourselves are an SME, we understand the pressures and situations of other SMEs as well. Our budgets are not, humongous. Of course, we have clients like Amazon where our budgets are good. I mean, that side of the business is doing well. So when we talk to enterprise, we can talk about understanding their business as well, and our standards of quality delivery, security, and all of that. When it comes to SMEs, we talk more about budgets, making sure open source is used as much as possible. That is a unique approach that most people don't follow. Every time we want to create a solution, if we start developing from ground zero, then it will cost you a bomb. But if you can use industry tools and techniques, for example, right now we are working with an SME who has two different systems and data needs to go from one system to another. They came to us and said, can you develop an API and all of that, without understanding what an API is? Essentially, we are not the developers of both these systems. So what we suggested was we built a Chrome extension
Yeah.
that will just read data from one plugin and put it. It's as simple as that. You know, it's like, okay, you're doing this, I'll create a tool that will do exactly that. And of course, it can
Yeah.
make errors. So if there are questions, then it will stop. It'll want them saying, hey, I don't think it's perfect. So that's where, we are ahead of others because we don't try to see what is the highest budget that we can extract from this client. But we look at it, what is the simplest way we can solve this problem? And that's why most of our clients have stayed with us for like 7, 10 years, even 12 years at times.
Yeah. Okay, so basically your approach, like your uniqueness of approach is like more land and expand than the full and like the full partnership options.
Yeah, you know, the open source is again, I don't think I can mention it enough. If you look at any tool that is being used currently in the enterprise, there is an open source equivalent. If you took a, like a look at Adobe PDF, there is a Sterling PDF, which has only come up in the last 3 years, but it is better than Adobe PDF and it is
Yeah.
free. So there are tools out there in the open source. So if you come talk to us, we will tell you what are those tools that you can actually take and use in your system. So that will bring you to 70% of the way. And then for the rest of the 30%, we will develop simple tools, techniques, tricks. Together with all of that, you will have a beautiful solution.
Yeah, right. Makes sense. And also, could you share some specific use cases where AI can be particularly effective for SMEs?
I have already mentioned a couple, like scanning CVs and
Yeah.
writing content. I don't even want to go into writing content because that's something that everybody talks about. But let's say, for example, if an SME has a trouble, uh, just as I mentioned, interacting between two systems, it is not technically AI, but it's more like robotics, where you take data from one place, make some decisions, not just copy and paste, make some decisions based on that, and then probably even process it through AI and understand what the probability of this happening and that happening, and predict that. Based on that, take some actions. So that has been useful in some of our clients. Similarly, there are tools which can actually read a lot of documents like Notebook LM. uh, we have implemented Notebook LM as a feature in many cases where customer service is required. It needs to only work out of the enterprise's knowledge or the SME's knowledge, not the world knowledge. So with Notebook LM, the good thing is that if you give it 50 sources, it will only work off those 50 sources. It only brings the natural language processing capability from the LLM, and
Yeah.
then everything else comes from these documents and videos and whatever else. And that is very useful. A customized tool that can actually use Notebook LM in the back end and in the front end talk to the human like a person or over a phone call. Those are amazing solutions. So for our booking solution, we have a phone call based system where
Yeah.
if you have old customers, they don't want to use an app. They can't really. They typically prefer to talk to somebody. So they can take the phone and just call somebody and have a conversation, and the AI will understand, even if they were going to jumble it up. Let's say, when do you want to make a booking? And they'll say, no, I want to book it for Tom. And then I will repeat the question. The AI will repeat the question. Okay, no problem. I'll book it for Tom. But when do you want it? So that kind of an interaction is possible if you combine Notebook LM and the language capabilities of it, and then a few other tools and techniques, as I mentioned. We can create such tools that will actually be very useful.
Okay, makes sense. And for example, how can SMEs avoid the pitfalls of AI and ensure they're using it effectively?
See, anyone using AI will always be learning and adapting and improving. If you're using it effectively today, tomorrow you might not be as effective. So I don't think that is something to be worried about from Gamma using it in the most effective manner. What you should measure is probably what is the productivity change and the efficiency gains that I'm able to get in my business. If you look at it from that point of view, so today I am making 30 bookings. Tomorrow, if I'm using AI, if I'm able to make 35 bookings, that's a huge gain. That's an easy way to track things.
Yeah.
Similarly, the pitfalls. The biggest pitfall, as you mentioned, is hallucinations and relying on its output as it is. That is just not going to work. And even if I say it 100 times, it is very hard to resist because it becomes nearly as good. Like even today morning, I wrote an email and it had one line. Thankfully, I had scheduled sent, so I did not send it immediately. I always schedule it for like the next 1 hour, and then I had time to review it in my head, and then went back and saw the line and removed it. So that's the real important thing. Don't rely on the AI output as it is, and then have productivity improvements in your system be the measure rather than am I making the best use of AI is not the best question. Is AI actually helping me improve my productivity,
Yeah.
efficiency, and other parameters is better.
Percent. Yeah, makes sense. And now, looking at the broader industry, what are the key steps for SMEs to embrace AI technology and grow their business?
The first thing that I would say is with AI, it's like internet. It's going to touch every aspect of your life. So, for example, if you're going to decide on a on a on a on a, let's say, something, anything that is related to your life, even small things like which shoe should I buy for this season, something
Hmm.
like that. Try to make it a habit to ask AI, because it is like an assistant who's sitting by your side. So
Yeah.
try to ask simple questions. So that will help you in your everyday operations, not just your personal life, of course, business life as well. And then if I'm doing a specific task, is there a better way to do this? Is there anything that I can learn? Like I learned the other day that plumbers carry uh, iPads these days, and they take pictures and ask ChatGPT for suggestions. That's a great way of looking at it. I mean,
Yeah.
I did my plumbing like 1.5 years back, and I had to buy a specific part. I could not even name it because I knew something needs to come here. But then I took a picture and gave it to ChatGPT, and it told me this is exactly. I'm not a plumber, thankfully, but on that specific instance, it helped. So similarly, everything that you do, if you pass through the AI, you will improve over time. That is number one.
Yeah.
And secondly, don't assume that everything will cost a lot of money. Talk to the experts, understand the real possibility of using technology within your business. And three is getting to the mindset that if I use technology, I can grow. And
Hmm.
so let's say the other day I was talking to a restaurant. I made him a wonderful demonstration about how a booking system can actually automate his bookings and all that. He told me, like, look at the queue in my restaurant. I'm not able to serve them. So I said, as a business owner, you should elevate yourself. You can employ 10 other people and serve the customers while you are growing the business bigger. And if you don't come to that mindset, then probably you don't need technology. But if you want growth, AI is part of that technology arc. So always look out for growth, improve everything that you do, and then come to the experts and ask the prices. That those are a kind of three keywords I can say.
Okay, makes sense. And for example, in your opinion, if a founder in your space like asked you for advice to scaling to the next level, what would you tell them to focus on first?
Of course, the customers, the use cases that you can solve for your customers, that needs to be very strong, and that needs to be something that you can be very sure of improving. So for example, in one case, we made a training app that will be used by people who are on board in a ship. So we made that app, and the core feature was that it can work without internet when they are on the ship. But as soon as it was done, the person who developed it said, "Yeah, thank you very much." Then I said, "Look, how do you handle your invoicing when you're in the ships?" And then we expanded the use cases.
Yeah.
So then that product has now become, of course, I'm happy to say they have stopped using us. They have had their own development team now, but that's because they grew because of us. So we are proud of that. Many clients have gone on to get VC investments and things like that after us, which is good news. But that happened because every time we took up a new use case, we were laser focused on making sure that is actually going to solve a real problem and that it will make a difference. So focus on customer use cases, and that should definitely lead you to a growth.
I love that. Yeah, it's really good advice though. and, and it sounds like you're ahead of the curve in many ways, which make me curious about your growth plans. So, how are you looking to grow for the next year?
See, as I mentioned, we have multiple sort of focus areas. Large clients like Amazon, they will grow when they want to grow. We can't really control much about their budgets or what they will come to us with. But whenever they come, of course, we are willing to deliver, and we keep our forces ready. But when it comes to products, we are introducing a few key products which can scale a lot. I am not able to talk to you about the specific products right now, but we have products in the logistics space. We have products in the project management space, and we are also having a product which is already in the market in the pet care space. Pet care space is the most exciting one, which is new, and we already have 10 or 11 clients. We are expanding towards grooming. In that, earlier only we were earlier focusing on daycares and borders, but now we are also focusing on grooming. That product is coming up next week, and as early as next week. So we are developing new products for the SMEs. We are also expanding our team to cater to the needs of the enterprise, and we are also ears about AI based products. We have created a couple of AI based products. To be honest, they have failed because when we created that feature, it was not there in core AI tools. Now AI tools have taken over. They are taking over more and more functionality. So it has taken over. So our product has become irrelevant. But that's okay. We have learned the lessons. We have understood how to proceed in that particular
Yeah,
industry, and so we will keep making more products in the future for with using core AI solutions.
100%. And around the growth, for example, if I gave you right now another, let's say, 100 graph just for the growth, where would you allocate it?
Today, most of our developers are becoming better and better at using AI for development. So that is definitely one of the areas where I will put my developers on. And secondly, I would probably create a new AI based product. First of all, using AI for development, it's very different from creating an AI product. So, creating an
100%.
AI product, we are already looking at various spaces. One of them is consulting. We have already kind of broken into that industry. We have some clients there. So, we'll probably make them faster. So, now we have a visibility of, let's say, 6 to 8 months of development in future. But if we have a bigger team, we'll go there faster, and we'll double down our efforts on that direction. So consulting is an area we are excited about. That's a new area. We have found some clients, but we are expanding on that.
Okay, interesting North Star that you have for the vision. And before we wrap up, I'm curious about what's on the horizon. So, when you look at Agile Cyber Solutions' journey over the next few years, what possibilities excite you the most?
Yeah, the possibility of us creating a groundbreaking AI product that will actually excite SMEs and enterprises alike is the number one uh, best use case. Uh, Even otherwise, even without AI in the picture, there are technology products that we have in the market. Every product nowadays uses AI. There is no
Yeah.
product that doesn't use AI at all. So these products that we have in the pet care space, in the logistics space, and in the education space, and all of that, they can scale up, and many of them are looking ripe for scale up. We have found new clients, and we are talking to them in every product. Our marketing is going full on, and sales is also closing deals. So yeah, we will look to expand what we do and create a new AI product which will eventually succeed. We have failed twice. Hopefully, we will succeed soon. But yes, that is our vision for the near future.
Yeah, okay, amazing horizon. And for listeners who want to learn more or potentially work with Agile Cyber Solutions, what's the best way to get in touch?
Yeah, they can contact me on my email or phone number. Feel free to share them. You have them. I'm
Yep.
Vignesh. My company's name is agilecyber.com. You can email me there, or get in touch with me on phone. Or if you're around London or Dartford, we can meet for a coffee. I'm more than happy to come and have a chat as well. So that's the third option available.
Perfect, perfect. So thanks for joining me today, Vignesh, and for this amazing podcast session. And for anyone listening, make sure to check out Agile Cyber Solutions socials below in the description because this episode was packed with value and I can wait to see what you build next.
Thank you so much.
Great, see you in the next episode then.
Thank you.